Hello and welcome to the webinar, Get to Know Jira Ops. I'm Blake Thorne, I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at Atlassian, and today I'll be walking you through everything you need to know to respond to incidents with Jira Ops. Let's start with a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. We'll start with a quick summary of what Jira Ops is, then we'll dive into a full product demo and see Jira Ops in action. We'll see the full incident management workflow from first alert to response, resolution, post-mortem, and remediation. I'll spend a little time giving you a sneak peek at some upcoming features that are still in development. Finally, I'll spend the remaining time answering your questions. Type your questions in the Q&A box at any time during the webinar. We also will be sharing a recording of today's presentation, so please look out for that in an email from us after the webinar. Jira Ops is Atlassian's newest cloud product built for helping teams manage major incidents. If you already have an Atlassian Cloud account, you can start a new Jira Ops project by signing up at atlassian.com/ops. Or if you're new to Atlassian, you can sign up there as well. We've built Jira Ops around the incident response process we use internally at Atlassian, and everything we've learned from some of the best technology companies on the planet over the years. Jira Ops integrates with your critical incident management tools to make incident response faster and more efficient. This helps teams resolve incidents faster, decrease mean time to resolution, and extract better insights from incidents. A quick note on what we mean by major incidents. Major incidents are what we define as service failures that bring your customers or organization to a standstill. This could be a website outage, a crashed email service, anything that interrupts a service for your customers or organization and requires an immediate response. So we're not talking about are the kind of invisible back-end hiccups that can wait until Monday morning to take a closer look at. And we're not talking about isolated incidents that only affect one user or one customer. We know a lot of teams use Jira Service Desk for those lower priority incidents, and we encourage that. We'll talk more about that later, but just to set the scene, we're talking about major incidents today. Jira Ops is currently available for free as an early access product until we release a 1.0 version, which we're targeting for sometime in 2019. So let's get started with the demo. For this demo, we'll be walking through the life cycle of a major incident, from first alert to setting up and running a response effort. So try to put yourself in the shoes of an engineer on a team in charge of an important service at your organization. Because this team embraces DevOps and a you build it, you run it type philosophy, engineers here take turns staffing an on-call schedule. We're here in Jira Ops looking at our open incidents dashboard. Looks like everything is running smoothly and currently no incidents are underway. Because nobody wants to spend their on-call shift staring at monitoring dashboards, waiting for something to break, we've got 24/7 monitoring tools integrated with Ops Genie. We can set up monitoring events to trigger alerts in Ops Genie, have those calls routed through an on-call and escalation schedule, and notify the right on-call engineer through the right channels like text message or mobile app alert. Quick note here, if you missed the news, Atlassian recently acquired Ops Genie, so we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up with them. But I should note, Jira Ops does have similar integrations available with some other alerting tools. So we can see right here, I'll just close these other alerts out. We can see right here what a live alert looks like right here in Ops Genie at the top of our alerts dashboard. I'll run through this workflow on the web app here because that's just a little easier to show for the webinar. But for everything we're doing here, we can also do in the Ops Genie mobile app. So now that we've seen the alert, we're going to go ahead here and acknowledge the alert and just sort of let Ops Genie know that this alert's been seen and does not need to be escalated to someone else on call. And so next step, just because an alert came in doesn't necessarily mean we have a full-blown service outage on our hands. A key responsibility of the on-call role is looking at these alerts that come in and investigating to see what's causing them and if there's an immediate response that is actually warranted. An alert could be a false alarm, something misconfigured in our monitoring stack, or it could be some back-end activity that warrants a closer look but can maybe wait until Monday. So in this case, let's say we do a little investigating, we realize this is a serious outage. Because the business considers this live stream service a critical service that should have excellent uptime, an unplanned outage like this means we probably need to kick off a major incident response process in Jira Ops. So to do this, We're going to simply click on this arrow right here, and you'll see create Jira issue. We have configured as a custom action right here. So this is going to tell us it's rating an open incident in Jira Ops, and we can begin coordinating a response effort. Before we move on, let's take a quick look at how this looks on mobile. So being on call usually means responding to alerts on mobile. You can see here on the left side what a new alert looks like on mobile, and you can see once we open the alert, we can go ahead and acknowledge it and open it in Jira Ops, just like we did over on the web app. Speaking of which, let's jump back over to Jira Ops. So you can see what this dashboard looks like in Jira Ops if we don't have any incidents open. And we'll just go ahead and refresh this page. We should see our outage right here. Yep, so that Ops Genie alert we pushed over is now listed here as an open incident. And we can already see some important details about the incident here, like when it was created, its current status, and a unique incident key. So we have INC 166 right here. This key is going to be pretty important. It's going to serve as the incident's unique identifier. Everything else that happens related to this incident from now on will be trackable with this unique key. So let's click into the issue and take a closer look. Okay, here we've got our Jira Ops ticket. So this is going to serve as our central hub for the response effort. We can connect the right tools and curate some key details without slowing down the team. We can already see some of those details right here in the issue. For example, right here under Ops Genie, we can see details from the original alert, and we even have a link back to that original alert in Ops Genie if we wanted to see that through this link. And up here in the description panel, we can see some more details that pulled over from that original alert. So at this point, if your on-call engineer wanted to hand off or escalate this incident to someone else, they certainly could. But for this demo, we're going to keep moving along as if the person who got that initial alert is going to be our incident manager. Like a lot of technology companies, we practice an incident manager model of response at Atlassian. In fact, we train all our on-call engineers to act as major incident managers. The incident manager is the commander for the incident, pulling in teammates to help, keeping everything on track, making sure the team has what they need, making sure the right updates are going out. You can learn a lot more about Incident Manager and other incident roles in our Incident Management Handbook, which we recently published. I'll put a link to that in the resource section. Now, as Incident Manager, the first thing we're going to do in Jira Ops is update the incident status and severity to show a response effort is underway. So right here under Status, we're going to change that from new to fixing. And under Severity, we're going to mark it as a Sev1 critical incident. Different companies have different guidelines for severity levels. If you want to learn how Atlassian manages Sev levels, that's another topic we cover in our incident handbook. And updating the incident status, you can see right here is going to add my name as the assignee on the issue, effectively putting me in the role of incident manager. Right now, assignee is the default field label here for this role, and that's standard across all the Jira platform. But since we know incident roles are so important, we're doing a lot of research on this feature, and we can imagine some incident-specific roles and fields here in the future. So finally, we're going to go to this affected services field, and we'll be able to flag the service experiencing the incident. So I'm going to set this to live stream service. Great. So we can see some of these changes already showing up in our incident timeline right here along the left side. And we can even see the origin point of the incident down here right at the bottom with this original Ops Genie alert. And what this timeline is this becomes a real-time chronological record of the incident and the key response events. As the incident progresses, we'll see more important details and events show up here in this timeline. Some will show up automatically, others will add manually based on what we know needs to be recorded. You'll see a lot more on how this works throughout the demo, but the timeline is going to be a big help for us as the incident progresses, as more activity happens and more people get in the mix. When new team members join in to help midway through the incident, this timeline is going to be a huge resource for them to kind of get up to speed quickly. And also if a manager or executive at the organization comes online and wants to know the latest about the incident, wants to know some details, Those are all available here for them at a quick glance, and no one actively working on the incident has to be kind of interrupted to give those updates. So we're going to be talking a lot about the timeline today. So for a major incident with multiple responders involved, the team needs a place for real-time communication. Chat tools are great for incidents and kind of where most of the action happens during incident response. A lot of communication goes back and forth in chat, and we want to be sure that's all easy to locate and centralized in one place. We've seen too many incidents where the conversation is fragmented across different chat channels. Some of it gets mixed into existing channels, and then no one really knows where the conversation is officially happening. So right here, we have an easy and fast way to kind of set up a war room in Slack. And quick side note, team comms is a huge part of incident response. We're pretty obsessed with it. So Jira Ops ships out of the box with this Slack integration. We also recently announced an integration with Zoom that'll let you spin up a video conference. We'll be looking into even more chat and comms possibilities down the road. So stay tuned. So you can see here we're about to set up a new Slack channel with a title that matches our incident key. It's a 166 we see here. And now we have a incident channel set up in Slack. So let's see that right there, and let's go over to Slack and take a look. So here we have our incident channel in Slack. You can see it's got the matching incident key. It even has a link here to the issue link in the description pinned to the top of this channel. So from here, we can start that incident conversation. We can start pinging other team members to help us out. If we need to alert someone else, we can always pop over to Ops Genie as well and see who else is on call. Either send them an Ops Genie alert or notify them here in Slack. So let's just write a few messages here to see this in action. Great. So we know incident chat generates a ton of important information, but you also see a lot of noise in these channels. More people get in the mix, more conversations happen, time goes by. A lot of great information can kind of get lost in all that chatter. We've seen incident chats at Atlassian that are literally thousands of lines long. And unfortunately, when that happens, a lot of helpful, important info is kind of mentioned once and lost forever. That's why an important feature in Jira Ops is the ability to push specific Slack messages right from Slack to your incident timeline. So now those important bits of information don't get lost in all this noise. So let's see how it works. Let's go right here in this most recent message, and we're just going to hit more actions here, and we're going to add to the Jira issue right here. Great, so Slack's telling us we sent that over to Jira Ops. Let's pop back over to Jira Ops and have a look. All right, we can see that message right here now at the top of our timeline. And while we're here, another cool thing you can do is add updates directly to this timeline. This can be helpful for important observations that you might want to discuss later in your postmortem. We're going to talk more about postmortem soon, but right now let's add something manually to the timeline. Great. So we'll show more of the timeline soon. But now that we have the responders set up with the right incident issue and comms channel, it's time to let our customers know what's going on. Even right now, if the team doesn't know all the specifics of the outage yet, it's important to alert customers early on that your team is aware that there's an issue and you're working hard to resolve it. This builds trust with your customers and lets them know that a response effort is underway. It helps cut down on customer help desk or support ticket volume. It just frees up the response team from a lot of unnecessary interruptions. And so we're going to show you how you can use Status Page for these customer updates. Status Page is another Atlassian product, and Jira Ops comes with a native Status Page integration. So you can see that right here. But first, let's take a kind of quick look at our Status Page that we have for this service. So we can see here on the status page, we have no active incidents posted. If you were to ask one of our customers then how things were going with the service, they might check this page and tell you everything's operational. If they saw the outage, they might check the page and assume your team wasn't aware of it because you're sort of indicating that everything's operational. By the way, this status page can be public-facing if you're a public-facing service like Dropbox or Twilio, both status page customers, by the way, or this page can be strictly an internal page for your organization if it's like an org-wide service like company email or something. So public or private on this page. And it's also important to note that in either case, your customers can subscribe to get status updates if they'd like them directly when you post those updates. So right here, they can get updates, email or SMS. You can even integrate with a chat tool like Slack. There's a ton of ways to surface status page information. I'll put a link about that in the resource section. But for now, let's go back to Jira Ops and show how we're going to update customers. So here we can see we have an option to send comms right from Jira Ops to status page. Let's give this a click. And we can see we haven't kicked off an initial customer update yet, which we also just saw on that status page. So let's send one out right now. Great. So right here is where we can fill out all the details we want to share with customers. And since this is a service where some unplanned downtime was expected, the team here has a template set up in status page for this kind of incident. We can find it right here under use template, and it's this one right here. Great, so we can see those fields are all filled out now. Since the team has validated the incident already, we're going to go ahead and change the status to identified. We can also see we have the affected component selected right here. Setting a component helps customers see which services are having an outage and which services are operational. Customers can also subscribe to updates for the components they care about. Since we're having a critical outage here, we'll set the component status to major outage. And just quickly before sending, we're going to take a final review, make sure everything looks right here. We can even change some of the message. Let's say we've got a feeling this incident's going to take a while, and we want customers to know they'll get another update in 30 minutes. We can just add that to the message here. Okay. Another quick side note here. We get a lot of questions about automating status page updates. You can certainly do it, but for most cases, we recommend a hybrid approach. Even if you're using templates like this, it's good to give a quick review to be sure the message matches the incident. You're about to send important news out to potentially thousands of customers. It's just good practice to get a human set of eyes on the message before sending it out. So taking a look here, everything looks good. Let's send out this update. Okay, we can see here on the right that we've sent the status page update, and we can also see the update right here on the timeline. This is great because now we have a record of how long it took for us to get that initial update out to customers, just looking at when the incident was officially detected and raised all the way to when we got that first update out. So that's really helpful information. And if we click the back button right here, we can see the status that we have set for the status page update. We can even see on this lozenge here when the last update was sent. So right now it says just now, but as time goes by, this will update automatically and kind of keep a running time of how long it's been since customers were last updated. This is a great way to make sure customer comms doesn't fall off your radar during the heat of an incident. As the incident goes along, we can keep customers updated periodically by updating the status page incident. And when the incident is resolved, we'll send a final update to customers, letting them know the service is up and running again and we're closing out the status page incident. So finally, if we go back over to the status page, we'll see our new update on the page. Yep, we can see the status page is updated here. So back here in Jira Ops, you can see we've got quite a bit of information on our timeline already. I've gone through everything pretty slowly to point stuff out. In a real incident, all these initial steps we've just gone through can usually be done in just a few minutes. That saves precious time, and being efficient in those first few moments of an incident are really what makes a difference and sets teams up for success. We see this as a huge improvement over the current way of rallying around an incident, which includes a lot of jumping around different tools, logging in and setting up different systems, and manually linking stuff together. So now that we've kicked off our response effort, what happens next? Well, the answer really depends on the incident. The response could go on for another minute or several hours or even days. Since we don't want to be here for an hour, let's do a little bit of time travel and see what an issue like this looks like once the incident is resolved. Okay, so you can see we've had quite a few updates here. The team has continued to host the bulk of their conversation in Slack and pin important messages to the timeline. They've updated customers a few times through status page and sent a final update when the service was resolved. They even linked to a few Jira Service Desk tickets here in the timeline. You can see that right here. This is actually an interesting piece to touch on for a second, because we've gotten quite a few questions about the relationship between Jira Ops and Jira Service Desk, how they work together, and whether one replaces the other. In short, no. We think both tools play an important role in the incident process. Jira Service Desk and similar tools are designed to give a single point of contact for customers. These serve as a way for customers to contact the business for support, service requests, and yes, to report incidents. But only some of those incidents require a major incident response effort like we can run in Jira Ops. Many others are isolated incidents that are unique to only one customer. If one user can't reset their password, for example, that might be an IT incident, and your team will want to respond effectively and track that ticket, but that usually won't warrant a major incident response in Jira Ops. On the other hand, when you do have a customer-facing service outage that affects many users, you're going to likely see some tickets coming in from customers in Jira Service Desk or Zendesk or whatever you're using for this. And there'll all be some version of the same message: the service is down. This is actually really good. When you're running a response effort in Jira Ops, you're going to want to keep an eye on the volume and velocity of these tickets. It's often a really good indicator of how widespread your outage is, and these tickets can hold some other really important signals. A customer might notice and report some detail that sheds light on the error and helps you get to a faster resolution. So suffice it to say, the relationship between the service desk and the Jira Ops incident is something we're really interested in. As we can see here, users can already explore this relationship with some simple ticket linking. But in the future, you can expect to see some exciting integrations with Jira Service Desk and probably with some other products. So let's see what else is happening here in the timeline. So this is interesting. We can see partway through the incident, we handed off the incident manager role to someone else on the team. This happens a lot in longer incidents. Incident manager is a really demanding role, and it's good to get this handoff and get some rest if you've been at it for too long. I love seeing this automatically added to the timeline, by the way. Small details like this are often never recorded, but can be exactly the kind of thing that unlocks an opportunity to learn something about your incident process and improve. So now the incident is resolved and the service is working again. We're all done, right? Not exactly. You heard me refer to the post-mortem process a few times already. The goals of a post-mortem are to understand all the contributing root causes of an incident, document the incident for future reference and pattern discovery, and plan preventative actions to reduce the likelihood or impact of the incident repeating. And from day one, we built Jira Ops with the post-mortem in mind, because we know it plays such an important role in incident management. In fact, most downtime is caused by some kind of change or new code being pushed into the system that conflicts with something existing. But thanks to modern deployment practices, a lot of these changes can be rolled back pretty effectively. This is great for the customer. It gets the service running again quickly, but it doesn't tell us much about the incident. What broke? What were the root causes? How did we not know this would break? How did we not catch it before deployment? How do we redeploy without breaking the same thing again? All very important questions, and by asking and answering these questions, you uncover some really valuable insights. Not just insights about the incident, but about your entire service, your team, really your whole organization. We like to say incidents are a forced investment, and the postmortem is your opportunity to collect the returns. And since postmortems is such a brand new feature, we just launched it last week. I'm actually going to jump into a few screenshots here to show you how this works. So we can see right here, we're looking at a resolved issue. Once the issue is resolved, Jira Ops has surfaced a create postmortem link right here under the description fields. We can click into that. It'll take us right into our postmortem template in Confluence. Let's take a look at what that postmortem looks like. I have an example one filled out over here. So here's an example of what a completed postmortem might look like. So all the headings and fields you see here are shipping with our postmortem feature, but you can certainly customize this and make it work for your team. So you can see here at the table at the top, we've got this filled out with some of the key details on the incident already. We've got the status of the postmortem, so we know if it's completed or not. We've got the link to the original Jira Ops incident right here. Another cool thing to show here on the postmortem is the timeline. So when you start a new postmortem from Jira Ops automatically embeds the incident timeline into our page here. So now all that great detail we put into our timeline during the incident is available right here in our postmortem. Again, this is a brand new feature, so I'm really just showing an early mockup right here. The live version is actually a dynamic embedded timeline. So I definitely encourage you to get your hands dirty with Jira Ops and see this feature live because it really is exciting. So we can do a quick scroll here through the rest of the postmortem. Our team's gone through and carefully filled out these fields and sections based on real evidence, data, and the recorded observations from the incident response. They've unpacked what's happened during the incident and drilled down to discover some root causes. Let's stop at this actions section at the bottom, because this is a really important part of the postmortem process, really the entire incident process. Like I mentioned earlier, most of the time, resolving an incident doesn't necessarily mean you've actually done anything to prevent the incident from happening again. You may have treated the symptoms, but until you've done the work to address the root causes and instrument changes that will prevent the incident from repeating, your job really isn't done. You're just going to be back here fighting the same incident over and over. What that means is figuring out what remediation work needs to be done and assigning that work to the right people. We can see here we've mapped out some new tasks for the dev team, and we're using Jira software for this. To be sure any new developer work we assign is in the same pipeline we use for the rest of our dev work. We found that actually assigning this work in Jira during the postmortem is a lot better than assigning things ad hoc and just hoping they get done, because that's how work falls through the cracks. It's also important that the team or developer taking on these new tasks actually has the bandwidth to do the work. So using Jira software, we can easily see what developers are working on and weigh the priorities of this new work against existing work. We can be sure it actually gets slotted into their backlog in a way that's going to be manageable for them. And we can actually create these JSW tickets right here in Confluence. I'll go into edit mode here and show you that. You can just type /J to open a new Jira window right here, and we can create a new Jira issue. So we could create a Jira issue right from this in Jira software and have that linked just like we see here. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of these other Jira issues right here. So this right here, for example, I have open. We can see the ticket for the new work that we've created. I've just got a pretty vanilla ticket set up here, but you can see the basics. We have the task, we've got it assigned to someone, we've got a status for the work so we can see it's in progress, and we've got it assigned to a sprint. So obviously you'd be able to use whatever workflows and configurations your developer team already has in place. Another important benefit to point out is that we've linked our postmortem and incident ticket right here. So even if the developer this is assigned to has never heard of this incident, or maybe they're on a different team or they were on vacation during the incident, they have this clear record of the incident. They can look back through the postmortem, read the incident timeline, see any related incidents we flagged, look at the Jira Ops issue, find the Slack channel, even find their way back to the original alerts in Ops Genie. All this is going to be a great resource for that developer. They're going to be empowered to do that work faster and more effectively. And just to see this all wrapped up, let's take a look back at the Jira Ops incident now that we have a postmortem assigned. You can see we've got the postmortem linked right here on the issue. And let's say we want a higher level view and we need to see if we're actually on track with holding postmortems for all of our past incidents. Here we've got a view at all of our incidents that still need a postmortem. It's an easy way for stakeholders and team leaders to be sure that postmortems don't fall through the cracks. The whole process for postmortems is ripped straight from our own postmortem playbook. You can learn a lot more about running effective postmortems and how we do postmortems at Atlassian in our incident handbook. Like I mentioned already, you can find that in the resources section or just search for Atlassian Incident Handbook and it should come right up. So I know we've gone through a lot today. We're about to wrap up and open for some questions. I just wanted to show one more thing. Since things are moving so fast with Jira Ops, I want to show one exciting thing in the coming soon category. Reporting is a big part of the Jira platform, so soon we'll be adding reports to track your resolution time and incident frequency over time. You'll also be able to see reports by services and by cause. We're still working on this feature, but here you can see an early mock-up of what this might look like, and we're hoping to share it with your team sometime early next year. So like I said, I know we covered a lot of ground today, and I hope that demo was helpful. We learned how to kick off an incident response, starting with an Ops Genie alert, and working through the incident in Jira Ops, Slack, and status page. We also saw how to run an effective postmortem using our new Confluence integration. And finally, how to make sure we address root causes with Jira software. We've got a lot of exciting work ahead of us with Jira Ops. We're excited about the future of incident management here at Atlassian, and we're sharpening that vision every day. I hope we showed you today how integrating your incident management workflow across your on-call, ops, help desk, and dev teams can lead to faster resolutions and fewer repeat incidents. Like I said at the beginning, Jira Ops is available for free in early access right now. That means we need early adopters like you to start using the product and give us feedback. You can help us shape the future of Jira Ops, and you can get started today at atlassian.com/ops. Now we're happy to open the webinar up to some questions.
Okay, going to jump in and answer some questions right now. The first question, this is a great first question to start with. When will Jira 1.0 be launched in 2019? We haven't announced exactly when it's going to be launched, but we have our Atlassian Summit user conference coming up in April, and we're sort of tentatively looking at that time frame for a 1.0. So nothing official yet, but we're kind of looking at April for a 1.0 launch. And let's jump into another question here. When an incident is created, can Jira Ops auto-populate some predefined resolution activities that the on-call should do to contain? This is a great question. We were actually at AWS reInvent conference last week talking to folks, and we got this suggestion quite a bit, essentially using some smart logic to pull in information about the incident, whether it's the service or previous incidents that have happened related to that service, helpful data or run books, documents that can be useful to the incident response team once that incident gets started. Short answer is that's an awesome suggestion, and we're kind of looking at that on our roadmap. Obviously, a ton of work to do a feature like that, but we're definitely looking at that. Here is another question. This is about adding folks to the incident. Question is, how do you add people to the incident? Great question. A handful of different ways. As you saw there, we were pinging incident responders in Ops Genie as well as Slack, in Jira Ops. A lot of folks, their first entrance into the incident response is via either Slack or the original on-call alert. And you can certainly ping people inside of Jira Ops. And actually, if you check out Jira Ops this week, we just shipped a new feature where you can direct ping folks upon incident creation, upon the Slack channel creation. So as soon as the issue is open and you're setting up that Slack channel like I showed, you can add folks right there. In the future, we're looking at some advanced features where you'll actually be able to ping folks that are on your on-call escalation via your on-call tool right there within the Jira Ops issue by adding their name or by adding a new service, and then sending that data back to Ops Genie, which could then find the right person and ping them with an on-call tool. Because on-call tools like Ops Genie obviously are great for that. Let's find another question here. And don't worry if I don't get to every question. There's quite a few that have come in, so we'll go through these afterward, and I can follow up directly if I don't get to your question. What kind of reports are available? For example, SLAs, time to resolution, assignments, and escalations. That's a great question, and we're actually, as you probably saw at the end there, we're building out the reporting feature right now. So look for that. Look for more news on that in the coming weeks and months. But definitely SLAs, time to resolution, MTTR, incident impact over time, really focusing on giving you the right data to see the sort of big picture macro effect of incidents across your organization, across your services, whether that's over weeks, months, years. Obviously, that's super important data for folks. So we're thinking about kind of everything we can on the reporting front right now. And let's jump into another question. This is a really good question. This is about minor incidents and major incidents. This is, if you're tracking minor incidents in tickets elsewhere, is it easy to just escalate those into major incidents tracked in a Jira Ops incident board? That's a really great question. Obviously, sometimes a minor incident turns into a major incident. You want that you want that sort of trail of escalation to happen. Right now, we don't have a sort of one-click solution for that, but you would certainly want to link those two issues together. So if you had a minor incident in Jira Service Desk that escalated to a major incident, you would probably create a new issue in Jira Ops as a major incident, link that back to, in the description field or custom field, link that back to the Jira Service Desk ticket, saying this originally started here as a minor incident, being escalated to a Sev 1 or whatever it might be. And then also in the Jira Service Desk or whatever tool you're using to track minor incidents, you would flag that, hey, we've pushed this, we've graduated this incident up to a major incident in Jira Ops. Here's the link where you can find it. So you could certainly link those issues together right now yourself. But that's a great question, and actually we'll pass that over to our product team because something like that as a sort of one-click solution would be, I imagine, really helpful. I'm going to push one more question here. This is a good question. If someone joins an incident and wants to know high-level status, example, root cause, next step, can you see it from Slack or have to go to the Jira Ops incident page? Right now, it's probably going to be easier to digest that on the Jira Ops incident page. However, at the top of every Slack channel, you're going to see a link to that incident page right from Slack. So it shouldn't be hard to find. Just click that link within Slack and jump into the incident page and see what's going on. We've sort of found it can be really difficult to get that high level status and impact in Slack because those rooms move really fast during an incident, and there's a lot of conversation happening. So it can be hard to sift through that. That's specifically why we try to pull some of that high level context into Jira Ops. But then again, it's a great suggestion, and I know the Slack integration, the Slack API allows a lot of customization, so I wouldn't write it off in the future. We might be able to better surface and visualize some of that high-level context within the Slack channel as well. So, great question. This is a question about postmortems. If you change an issue from a Sev 2 to a Sev 1, back to a Sev 3 before resolving it, will you be able to show the different start and times for each type of major incident in one postmortem? That's a really great question. I know we've had a lot of incidents where that's exactly the case. It's a Sev 3, and then it escalates to a 2 and a 3, and maybe up to a 1 eventually, as you learn more about the incident and sort of unpack the impact and realize, the impact may be more or less than you initially assumed. And to be completely honest, I haven't tested that out in postmortems, the postmortems feature we just launched. Brand new feature, and I think you're referring to the way that step level is reflected in the postmortem table that we showed here in the presentation. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how our logic handles that, so I'm going to jump in and take a look right after this webinar because I'm curious myself now, and encourage you all to do the same. But yeah, great question. This is a question coming up about adding additional responders. Can you ping additional individuals to join the incident resolution activities directly from the incident page without going basically to the Ops Genie interface? That's a really good suggestion, and that's something that we're working on at the moment right now. We want to build a workflow where folks can add new responders right from Jira Ops, or even add certain services from Jira Ops, and then bidirectionally integrate with Ops Genie to get the right people who are on call for those services alerted via their on-call tool. Obviously, not everyone who has access to raise an incident might have access to the alerting tool or know exactly who the right person to ping is, and we think it'd be really powerful to be able to maybe open a ticket, add a service, not necessarily know who owns the service or who's on call at the moment, but to be able to add that service and have those folks sort of automatically alerted the Ops Genie, hey, new issue was opened, check it out. This might be an incident that you need to take a look at. Super valuable, and like I said, that's something we're working on at the moment. So I'd say look forward to that next year as well. Another question here. This question's about how we integrate with ITSM tools. And the question is, what ITSM systems do you integrate with? We are currently building out an integration with Jira Service Desk, as I think I mentioned there, and taking a look at really all the other vendors in the space as potential third-party integrations. So definitely stay tuned for some more work on that. But I think Jira Service Desk is the sort of first in line for us, being an Atlassian tool as well. We see a lot of opportunity to improve the sort of ITSM integration, starting with Jira Service Desk. Here's a question about pushing issues from Ops Genie over to Jira Ops, like I showed at the beginning of the presentation. This is, so in Ops Genie, we create a Jira issue. It doesn't automatically show up in Jira Ops, correct? That's correct, according to the workflow that you just saw in the webinar there. However, Ops Genie's integration capabilities are very customizable. I've played with them a bit. Really powerful, easy to navigate, and you could certainly set it up this way, is what I'm trying to say. So the workflow that I showed sort of mirrors the workflow we have at Atlassian, where we want the on-call engineers to be able to decide, hey, is this an actual incident that we need to respond to, or is this just sort of alerting noise? Obviously, we like to not have alerting noise, but it does happen. So that's the workflow we use. So that's what I showed in the presentation today. But yeah, you can certainly customize it. So any alert for a service that comes in through Ops Genie or your alerting tool could automatically surface a Jira Ops incident. And you would just configure that in. You configure that in Ops Genie. Here's a question about using Jira alongside Jira Ops, I guess whether that's Jira software, which is the Jira most folks are familiar with, or Jira Service Desk, which is our Service Desk customer point of contact flavor of Jira. Do I need to be using Jira or some other of these tools to run Jira Ops? So yeah, all the tooling you saw today, Slack, Status Page, Jira Service Desk, obviously it all works really well with the Jira Ops, and that's what we think is a great end-to-end major incident solution. But obviously, now you could just jump in with Jira Ops and get started with that if really you just wanted to do some incident tracking. Here's another sort of question related to using other Atlassian tools. This question, what if I'm already tracking major incidents in Jira? Do I need to switch to Jira Ops? You know, that's a tough one to answer, and it really depends on what your organization is, what your workflow is, how happy you are with the current Jira configuration. Obviously, Jira Ops is going to be our focus for major incidents for the future here at Atlassian. So all of these incident-related integrations and features and reporting capabilities are just going to get more and more horsepower as the years go on here. If you're excited about that and you want to switch over now, great. If you're super happy with the workflow that you've spent a long time, dialing in just right in Jira, that's great too. And you might want to wait and see what is going to happen with Jira Ops. We certainly recommend switching over, but I think here at Atlassian we know more than anybody how hard it can be to switch over from one Jira workflow to the other, especially if you spent years sort of dialing in those customizations. So it definitely just depends. But if you're new to incident management or your organization's new to tracking major incidents, definitely recommend switching to Jira Ops, especially if you're using some of these other cool tools that we have today, that we showed today, that integrate with it, because those integrations are just going to get stronger and stronger over time. And here's a question. This actually came up a couple times, so I'll just push one of these questions over. But a few of you asked about Microsoft Teams, integrating with Microsoft Teams, and obviously we showed the Slack integration, and we showed Slack quite heavily here. Ton of organizations use Microsoft Teams instead of Slack. Short answer is yeah, we'd love to integrate with Microsoft Teams. Nothing officially announced yet. No specific timeline details I can give, but it's 100% on our radar, and we're hoping to do a Microsoft Teams integration similar to the Slack integration that you saw today. And I'm just going to try to flip through these and see if I missed any that are worth answering for everybody. A few of you I answered directly, and if I didn't get to your question, I'll go through these one more time afterward and send you a note directly, because I want to be sure we get in touch with every question. Here's one on, I think we had a couple questions like this related to, is this only available in cloud? Is this going to integrate with server, et cetera, et cetera? We get a ton of questions about this lately. Obviously, being a cloud-only offering right now, of course, a ton of folks are using our products on-prem, and we want to support them. The quick answer is immediate plans are for this to be a cloud-only product. I wouldn't say definitively that there will never be a server version, but we're super focused on cloud right now for a couple reasons. One being all the integrations you saw today, those are also SaaS cloud products, Slack, Statuspage, OpsGenie. That's where a lot of the sort of DevOps incident management world seems to be focused right now. So if you are sort of cloud allergic, there's a good chance that you're also having trouble using some of these integration tools as well. So that's sort of a sticking point for us doing a server version. Other point on server version, and we learned this a lot actually with our Statuspage product, which was Atlassian's first cloud-only product. With major incidents, it's really great for this technology to not be living on your infrastructure, essentially, because while it's rare, it does happen where some major incident could take out all your internal tooling or take all your servers down, and obviously that could be quite catastrophic. And the most important thing that you would need at that moment is your incident management tools to be reliable and accessible. So obviously we advocate for teams to think about cloud tools when it comes to managing major incidents. Understand that some folks might not be ready to move there quite yet. It doesn't work for everybody, but that's been our sort of strongest finding so far on that front. And I think that handles, like I said, most of the most of the questions that we had today, or almost all of them. I tried to answer folks directly if I didn't get to you. If I didn't get to you here, and like I said, I'll be going through these and making sure we get responses back if I didn't answer your question in this Q&A session. And with that, it looks like it's going to be all the time we have for the webinar today. We really appreciate your time, taking the time to view today's presentation. Please look out for a follow-up email with a recording of today's presentation. And remember, you can get started trying Jira Ops for free today at atlassian.com/ops. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next time.